Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Oxygen for the Soul. This week's Parashat Vayesheb, Vayesheb Yaakov, Be'eretz Migurei Aviv, Be'eretz Canaan. Parashat begins with a continuation of the story from last week, where we learned a little bit about how Esav had set up his family, and in this week's Parashat, we do a deep dive into the dealings of Yaakov and his family. What's interesting is the first Rashi. Rashi in the first Rashi in this week's parsha goes off. He says, Acha shekatuv lecha yoshvei Esav and betoldotav. After the Torah goes out of its way to tell me all about Esav and his dwellings and his children, b'derech katzara, it went through a very shortened way of explaining whatever Esav had accomplished, because Esav is a secondary character from the Torah perspective, and Yaakov is a main character, and that's why in this week's parsha we do a double clicking, more expansive storytelling about Yaakov and his family. But Rashi offers a very interesting parable over here, and it's definitely worthwhile to double click and figure out and try to understand what he's trying to impart over here. He says as follows. He says, Mashal lemargelit nafla behen hachol. Right? There's a mashal of a pearl that falls into the sand. Adam mitamesh bechol. He can't find his pearl. What does he do? He takes the pearl and he puts it into a sieve. He takes it with the sand, and he goes ahead and he separates all the rocks from the sand, and eventually he finds his pearl. Okay, telba no telba marguerite, and therefore he finds his pearls. Now, the question is, well, what is this metaphor really adding for us? At the very least, I think everyone here could agree that Yaakov was the good guy, Esav was the bad guy. You want to make the comparison that Yaakov was the pearl and Esav was the rock. I don't need a parable. Like, this isn't a complicated idea for you and I to figure out. I could just say one was good, one was bad, and that's it. End the story. Why do I need to go? Why does the Torah need to go out of its way, or why does Rashi need to go out of its way to make this point for us? Big deal. Like, what is he adding? Rashi is supposed to be this great commentator. He's supposed to be super short and to the point, and then he's giving me this weird mashal over here, this weird metaphor to help explain or to deepen our understanding of Yaakov and Esav. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between a biologist and a mystic. If you ask the biologist, how much value does a human being have? He'll tell you, well, if you calculate the potassium, magnesium, the protein that makes a human being, all those chemicals, you could probably like $4. I could buy all that on Amazon for like $4 or $5, and that's probably the value of a human being. Very little value to a human being when you just look at it from a completely physical sphere. But if you ask the mystic, what's the value of a human being? He'll say infinite value, because he has infinite potential, right? And therefore, I think what Rashi is trying to get at is this distinction. It's so easy to look at life and say, well, okay, there's this rock and that pearl, but the difference between the rock and the pearl is the difference between someone who is doing what they were meant to be doing, someone who expresses greatness, versus someone who just does, whatever they do, kind of coasting. Vayesheb Yaakov. Even though Yaakov is looking to Vayesheb Shalva, he's someone who is looking to live in a world of serenity. He's still someone who worked really hard on becoming the best version of himself. Now, I used to have this hashtag that I love that's very appropriate for this mashal. It was hashtag no pressure, no diamond. Greatness can only come from people that work hard. Greatness only comes from people that overcome situations. A pearl is forged under the most immense pressure of the earth over thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, and now you have this beautiful pearl. A rock is a rock that did not undergo any pressure. There's no difference on it from a biological place. They're both the same. The only difference is that one went through the pressure of becoming something great, while the other just chilled. Right? Rashi is saying this is the difference between Yaakov and Esav. Esav, born with every single natural gift you could imagine. He was rich. He was good looking. He was intelligent. He was an orator. He was charismatic. He had an amazing body. He attracted women. He attracted men. He was a warrior. He was a philosopher. He had it all going for him, but yet the Torah only spends a few pasukim talking about him. Whereas Yaakov, the whole entire parasha is about Yaakov. The whole story, most of Genesis takes up, is all about Yaakov, the Jewish people leaving from these tribes or families, becoming the people, the nation of Israel. It's all coming from him. So what makes him so unique is that he's a pearl. They come from the same substance, but one was transformed into something much more valuable, right? When we look at our own lives, this time of the year especially, I get so many phone calls from people who are experiencing depression or sadness and they're lonely, and I get it. It's the winter, it's dark, it's just you're in darkness all day. 6 o'clock comes, 7 o'clock comes, and it feels like it's 12 o'clock. It's cold, your bed is cold, it's miserable outside. Unless you're like Sion, who's in South America where it's summer right now. But if you're here on this side of the equator, then you know that it's hard. But this hardship that we're going through in the winter isn't accidental. It's designed. We actually prepared for it. You know when we prepared for this winter? We prepared for it during Sukkot. We went into the Sukkah to remind ourselves that when we look up through the cracks of the Sukkah, something that really doesn't provide any kind of shelter, that when we're in a place of shelter, we have to be mindful that there is a God who is caring for us, that the situation we find ourselves in are not random, that the world that we're in right now, the circumstances are very specific. If we are able to accept the pressure, we're able to overcome the circumstance, we transform from the stone to the pearl. At the end, everything is going to be all right. And that's exactly what the Torah is about. Look, the Torah is about Vayesheb Yaakov. He wants to chill. Yaakov bikesh leshev b'shalva, and he doesn't get it. And the Torah goes on. Ela toldot Yaakov. Yaakov is there. He has a son named Yosef. Right? Yosef is not just his love. Right? Pasuk says Ela toldot Yaakov. Yosef ben Shiva Asar Shana. He was the ro'eh et achiv. He was a shepherd. That was the profession of every single one of the avot. Anyway, he was the shepherd, and he saw his siblings out in the field, and what ends up happening is that he ends up. Torah tells us that Yisrael ohevet Yosef, that Jacob loved Joseph. Mikol banav, he loved him more than all of his sons. This is a horrible recipe for all kinds of hatred and infighting within families. When a parent shows more love to one child versus another child, this was clearly a mistake. But why did he love him so much? He loved him so much that he created something. He gave him something called the Ktonat Pasim. Ktonet Pasim. He gave him a special technicolor jacket to show his special affinity and love for Yaakov, for Yosef. Yaakov for Yosef. And the question is, why? In Judaism, we believe that intention is everything. Your mindset, your ability to focus, your ability to concentrate is really where life begins for us. You express your truest self through choosing what you're going to concentrate on. Your focus is where where I can see who you are as a human being. Your choices tell me a little bit more about what you are. And therefore, we know that when Yaakov wanted to get married, he wanted to marry whom? He wanted to marry Rachel. And he did not have a wedding night that ended with Rachel. He was unable to, he was able, he did it with the wrong woman. He was able to consummate the marriage with Leah, but not with Rachel. But had he known he would have been with Leah, he would have a different kavanah, because her personality was different. He was a very deep, thoughtful person who understood how to breed and how to bring the best out of life. So when he wanted to be with Rachel, he ended up being with Leah. But finally, when he was able to go ahead and consummate his marriage with Rachel, he brought forward Yosef. That was his true intention. His true intention, Al Pi Kabbalah, that Yosef was supposed to be his firstborn son, and technically he was Rachel's firstborn son, but he was supposed to be the firstborn son of Israel. and he was not. And it's fascinating because a lot of this quarreling between the brothers comes from a debate that the rabbis teach us, that the brothers felt that they were already at this point to ascend from a tribal status into a Israel status. The question is, do the Jewish people at this point in time, are they called the Jewish people? Were the tribes of Israel at this point, the sons of Israel, called Jews? Or were they just the sons of Jacob? Joseph believed that the brothers were still in the tribal form, which means they were still subject to the laws of Noah, Noahide laws. Whereas the brothers felt that no, that they were already ascended the level of Jacob to Israel, and they were part of the Jewish people. And this is where so much of the fighting, when you go through the psukim, you go through the verses on your own, have that idea in the reading, it'll change the way you see the whole entire story. Okay? They see that Joseph was loved by their father, and it says, "V'yisnu oto v'lo yachlu dibro l'shalom." They saw that their father loved him, right? They were yiru achav, right? Ki oto ohev avihem. They saw that their father loved him. Mikol achav, from all the brothers. V'yisnu oto, and they hated him. V'lo yachlu dibro l'shalom. They could not speak to him in peace. They couldn't speak with him peacefully. Well, what does that mean? Lo yachlu dibro. What do you mean you can't? They could not. It's a choice, isn't it? And this is a very deep lesson about hate. Hate creates an illusion that you can't do something. Oh, I hate that guy. I can't talk to him. I can't speak to that person. Why? Who says you can't do that? This is how destructive hate is. Where did this hate come from? By the way, what was it rooted in? Jealousy. When you see hate, right? No, it's not. You see hate. Hold on a second. What are you saying?
Not always.
No, yes, not always. It's not a universal statement. But over here, certainly, when the brothers had this hate, often hate is fueled by something else. Hate isn't just a arbitrary, oh, I just hate the person. You never start at hate. Something has to happen before you get to hate. Okay? And we see over here that their hate is fueled by jealousy. They can't talk to him as a result of it. They could not speak to him in peace. Why? Because of their hate. And now we know that Joseph has the dreams. I don't want to do the dreams. I want to go on to the next idea. And one more idea for you today, and we'll call it a day. And then, he goes through his dreams, and the dreams make it worse, that they don't want to be in a situation where they're being led by Joseph. So the brothers, Yaakov and the brothers are separated. The brothers are out in some field. Yaakov asked Yosef to go out into the field and to give him a report on what the brothers are doing. Okay? So now Yaakov is looking for his brothers. He's going out there searching. So there happens to be some random man in the field, right? And the brothers are going out to the field and stone. Yosef, he says, go tell me what your brothers are doing. So he says, okay, go find out what your brothers are doing. Ish, and Yosef finds a man. He finds a person who's just like straying in the field. Vishalehu ha'ish, and this man asks Yosef. He says, Ma tevakesh, what do you want? What are you looking for? Vayomer, and he says, Yosef, et achi anochi mevakesh. I am asking for my brother. What a powerful pasuk this is. The brothers hate Yosef. They can't stand him. They're jealous of him. And what does Yosef want? He says, what do I want? I just want my brothers. I want my family. How painful is this pasuk? You see how one group of people, they dislike this person. This person, all he wants to be is accepted. Vayomer et achi anochi mevakesh. Hagida nali efohem ro'im. Do you know where my brothers are? Where are they shepherding right now? Vayomer achi anochi. This is a great question to ask. What are you mevakesh? What do you want? Think about this for a second. Why is the Torah telling me this? We know what he's looking for. But the Torah is reminding us, my friends, that you know how you could tell what a human being is? By what they ask for. What do you ask? What do you mean mevakesh? What do you ask for all the time? Oh, I really want a new watch. I want a new car. I want a new house. I want a new dress. I want a new vacation. Is that who you are? Or are you being mivakesh your brothers? Do you want to build a family? Do you want to build community? Do you want achdut? What are we doing, my friends, to lean into being the best version of ourselves? That's what this pasha is. The pasha is about how all of us, all too often, we want to chill. We want to relax. We want to be in a place where we could just do whatever we want to do. We want to live in paradise without having to work for paradise. And this is a mistake. This is a deep mistake. Greatness comes through hardship. It comes through growth. It comes through working really hard to overcome something. It comes through having a plan, a vision. It's not enough just to be, just to relax, just to sit on your laurels. You always have to be building. What is he doing? He's going out, he's looking for his brothers, even though he knows they despise him. He knew the dreams would lead to more hatred, but he's an honest guy. And all he wants is his brothers. The Omer Ha'ish, the man says to Yosef, Nasu mizeh, ki shamati omrim nelcha dehena, right? He sees that them, he says, they overheard them, let's go to this place called Dothan, right, Dotena, v'yelech Yosef acharachav yemseu bedotan. He goes and he finds in the city called Dotan. V'yir'u oto merachok, they see him from afar, ubeterem yikrav elehem, right, and when they had not yet drawn near him, v'yitnaklu oto lahamito, they plotted against him to kill him. V'yomru ish el achiv, and one brother said to the other, Hine bal halachalamot halazeba. Here comes the dreamer is coming. Here comes the dream boy, daddy's love boy, right? The favorite. V'ata, and now lechu v'nehergehu v'nishlachehu be'achad habar. We're going to kill him and throw his body into one of these pits. This is one of the most painful verses in the Torah for me to read. How do we get to a point where brothers feel this kind of animosity towards each other, where they want to destroy the other? What was this? So you could say that this was them disagreeing with Yosef and his philosophy and his dreams and so on and so forth. V'yishma'a Reuven. Reuven hears this. V'yitzalehu mi'adam. And he wants to save them from their homes, from their hands. Vayomer lo nechnu nefesh. He says, we'll not deal a deadly blow to this guy. Vayomer lehem Reuven. Don't spill blood. Send them instead to the pit, and whatever happens, happens. Let God decide. We're not going to kill this guy. Let God decide what happens to this person. Right? And we know what happens at the end of the story. The story at the end is that Reuven does not save Joseph. He tries to. He prevents him from being killed. And he's the brother. He's supposed to be the head of the tribes, the oldest, the eldest. And instead, he goes away. He leaves. The brothers come, and they pull him out of the pit, and they sell him as a slave. This begins the painful descent from Israel into Egypt and the pain that the brothers have to go through by witnessing a father who gets degraded and depressed as a result of their poor calculations and actions. You know what the Chachamim say about Reuven? They say that if Reuven would have known that these psukim, these verses were written in this book, he would have carried Joseph on his shoulders and bring him home to his dad. Right? You know what this pasha is about? The pasha is about how we have a responsibility to make sure our lives are meaningful. You want to go on vacation? Go on vacation. B'chavod. You want to chill? Chillax. It's okay. It's all good. But don't allow yourselves to become complacent. Don't allow yourselves to get to a place where you no longer want to work to make yourselves and the world around you into a better place, because it will not be better unless you put in that effort. It will not become great unless you work hard. If you're not sweating by the sweat of your brow, you're not doing back-breaking work, something is wrong. Back-breaking work today could just be focusing on what it means to be better you, a more patient, more resilient, more calm, understanding, giving, loving, chesed-oriented, Torah-oriented human being. It doesn't mean staying where you are. Recognizing the good that you have in this world. Recognizing that even though you may have messed up until now, it's okay. Vayesheb Yaakov means at the end, everything will be okay. We know what happens at the end. Yosef is saved. He saves the brothers. Yaakov is reunited with the family. It all works out at the end. The story takes place over years of life. Vayeshev Yaakov, at the end, Yaakov has been working for 20 years. His whole life, He's struggling to become that pearl. And the lesson of this week's Torah is this week's perasha is that if you're not going to work hard to be that great, the greatest you, you're just going to end up being a rock. But don't worry, even if you're that rock, at the end, because God loves you so much, it's still going to be okay. We are a few nights away from lighting the candles on Chanukah. We're a few nights of the way where this time of the year becomes the darkest time of the year, where there's the least amount of light in the world and the most amount of darkness. And what do? We do small things. We take a little candle and we light it at the front of our door. We light it in our house to remind us that just like 2,200 years ago, when the Greeks made those very evil decrees to try to estrange Jews from their Judaism, to displace us, to break our spirits, to wipe out and destroy Judaism by having us assimilate into hedonism and Hellenism, we light a candle. We do the simple thing to remember that the way in which you defeat the darkness is by doing small acts of kindness, small acts of light into a time of darkness. That's all you got to do. It's not a big. I'm not saying anything big. You want to turn into a pearl? You don't have to go to the gym and do it all day. Work on finding yourselves a small thing that you're going to do every single day and work yourself up until you become better. Remember, the greatest, tallest mountains in the world are made up of small grains of sand. The biggest stars are made up of small, little, microscopic hydrogen molecules. Okay, that's all it is. Small things make big things. You want to make the world great? Do small things daily. Don't give in. Don't let go. If we would have let go as a people, we would have been gone so long ago. Like so many of the anti-Semites want to see us, wiped off the planet. You and I represent individuals who are part of a chain of tradition of stubborn people who never let go of that dream. Bezrat Hashem, with that stubbornness and that focus of inner growth and development, we will see a Beit HaMikdash built, a home of peace for the world, a symbol of people, of human beings working tirelessly to achieve greatness. Thank you so much for listening again. Shabbat Shalom, and wishing you all a Chanukah Sameach.